Good morning, everyone, and welcome to SPC's webinar titled Overcoming Your Business Growth Challenges. My name is Eric Simpson. I'm Vice President and CIO of SPC International Online, and I'd like to thank you for the time that you've chosen to invest today working on your business with me instead of in the business. So I'm going to do my very best to provide you value for this 60 minutes today. And as you can see, I've got a little bit of industry experience here and some recognition. On this next slide, I'll give you a little bit of background of how I got here and what qualifies me to present on these types of topics and help our partners with their IT business practices. Way back in the early 90s, I was in the enterprise, and here's a little throwback photo after I exited my enterprise days, and we began our first IT practice in '97, which we transitioned to one of the first pure play MSPs in 2005. From 2005 to 2007, we built a very profitable managed services practice that we eventually sold at the end of 2007. And leveraging my experience in the enterprise in building out call centers and help desks for Fortune 1000 organizations. Now, mind you, this was back in the Novell and token ring days. And for those of us that recall those days, I'm not talking about, you know, the super awesome 16 megabit token ring networks. I'm talking about the 4 megabit networks. So a little shout out to some of the old guard on today's call. I've also written a series of best-selling books for the industry. So taking all of that experience from the enterprise, from building out our own IT practice, leveraging the experience and expertise I gained in the enterprise of building out call centers and service desks through project management and incident management from the service desk and the NOC, we evolved into that successful MSP practice that was eventually acquired. And what we've done since then is focused completely on helping IT solution providers, MSPs, CSPs, MSSPs, grow their practices based on industry best practices, as well as methodologies and techniques that we've developed along the way. So to date, we've got quite a few successful channel engagements, as you can see by this slide. And we continue to train and enable IT solution providers. And we've also worked with top-tier vendors such as Microsoft, Cisco, and Citrix, delivering channel strategy, go-to-market strategy, channel enablement programs, and partner recruitment programs, as well as over 100 other vendors in the channel. So enough about us. Let's get into what we're going to learn on today's webinar. What I'm going to focus on are 3 key areas. The 11 focus areas that we've identified when we consult with one of our partners. These are the 11 areas that we feel are the levers that can accelerate growth or hamper growth based upon how prepared we are and successful we are at executing the strategic and tactical activities that it takes to achieve improvement. And I'll talk about some best-in-class statistics and things like that, so we'll have a reference point on that side. I'm also going to talk about the critical key performance indicators that every business needs to track, not just an IT solution provider organization, but every business in order to lead a successful, prosperous, growing, profitable organization. And then I'm going to switch and talk about a topic that we seem to always circle back around on when we are consulting with our partners in regards to QBRs. So we have a very specific perspective on what a QBR is, what its intent is, and how to execute QBRs effectively to continue to uncover additional revenue opportunities within existing client relationships. Oh, and by the way, if you stay all the way until the end of today's webcast, what I will do is I will send you our business KPI dashboard. This is a spreadsheet with a series of tabs across the bottom that cover operations, marketing, sales, sales engineering, project management, service desk and NOC, and a couple of other key business units, as well as technician and engineer and project manager KPIs that you can track. It's really, really effective. And I'll also send you our QBR agenda template, which keeps us on track when we're delivering our QBRs, and we use it to send ahead of time to the client, ask them if there's anything they would like to add to the agenda, which basically reinforces and encourages them to keep that QBR appointment and gets them involved in the process. I'll also send you a special link to schedule a call with me for a free strategic business review of your organization, and we can talk about your business roadblocks and challenges, and I'll see if I can provide you some value through that call. Then I'll also offer you a special offer for me to come out and spend a day with you and your team on site conducting a strategic business improvement meeting. And we'll talk about that a little bit. And then I've got some amazing bonuses for you as well. All right, let's get right into it and talk about those 11 business growth drivers that I mentioned earlier. Now, the number one business growth driver, or the number one accelerant, or the issue that can hamper growth that we find, boils basically down to leadership. How well we can lead our teams and the types of folks that we hire into our organization that are either up-and-coming leaders, and our job as good leaders is to train and mentor these up-and-comers and give them more responsibility so that we are building leaders beneath us. Without that, we'll always be tied to every single strategic decision and activity that's required. And in the lack of a good leadership, your staff will do what they think they should be doing. And sometimes they'll be doing things that, they know they shouldn't be doing. So the definition of leadership is influencing someone to take action, right? Influencing someone to do something. So the better leaders we are, and the more we hold our teams accountable to execution, the more satisfied the team will be. They want to follow good leaders. They want to be good leaders, and they need an example for that. And the big point here is, what are we doing to feed ourselves on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to become great leaders? We're great John Maxwell fans. In fact, we're certified in John Maxwell's Leadership Academy. So we always recommend, John Maxwell's books. There's one book that I'll recommend. It's the 21 Irrefutable Laws of a Good Leader. So take a look at how you're leading your team and make sure that you're leading and mentoring them and holding them accountable to execution. That's the key there. The second driver here is not understanding our true cost of service delivery, right? So when we're moving from a break-fix or professional services organization and then adding managed services, cloud services, and things like that, and we've got different resources that are getting paid differently from a W-2 perspective, and they're all potentially participating in all of these different projects and different tickets and things like that, it's easy to lose sight of how to identify true costs. So you've got to understand what your true cost, including full labor burden and overhead burden for each and every one of your billable staff. And once you understand that, then you can begin extrapolating the amount of hours that they're working on each item, be it a ticket, be it a project, be it time and materials based engagement, and then you can calculate what your true cost for that labor hour is. And that's the only way you'll really be able to confirm whether or not you're actually achieving the margins that you're forecasting or not. Super, super important. Number 3, service and solution pricing and bundling. This is an area where we get involved all the time, where partners ask us, can you help us, evaluate what we should be including in all of our service bundles? Absolutely. And our philosophy is, today, in order to sell from a consultative sales perspective and to realize the maximum margin for our services and be seen as an invaluable strategic business partner to our clients, we need to add as much value in every tier of our services or every bundle of our services as possible. So it's real that this goes back to item 2, understanding our true costs of service delivery, including the cost of all of our licensing and all the products and solutions that we bring to bear in each of our bundles. This includes appliances such as BDRs. It includes licensing such as Office 365 and your antivirus and anti-malware and all these things. Everything that you're delivering in this bundle, you need to understand per user, what does that cost you, including the labor to support that. So there's a calculation that we go through when we consult with our partners that really takes into account how many tickets are being received, the cost of labor, etc. So we boil it down to, okay, now we know what our true cost is to support one user in this one tier. We're doing tiered. We want to sell on value, but we still have to understand our costs. Then we can sell on value, right, and price our services so that we can shoot for the maximum margin. And then we need to make sure that we are delivering our services as efficiently as possible in order to grow that margin over time as we reduce the noise in those environments and things like that, and really start having those strategic discussions with our clients through QBRs to uncover additional revenue opportunities. Number 4 is a no-brainer. The more consultative our marketing and sales approach is, the higher our opportunity to sell higher value services and really become that strategic business partner for our clients, that stickiness, right, and increase our margins over time. Number 5, master service agreement and solution-specific SALs and addendums. We never seem to run out of requests to review our partners' agreements and things like that, and these have evolved over time, and they kind of become living documents. So what we recommend is create a master services agreement which contains all the legalese and all of that boilerplate stuff about liability and how you get paid and this and that and the other thing, and then create these SALs for each service that you add and potentially users later. So if you've got a SAL for initial managed services agreement, that's an easy thing to have the client sign, especially if you're adding services on. If you're going to throw a BDR in there, have them sign a quick one-page SAL. If you're having a VoIP solution put in, a short SAL, not the 20-page agreement every single time. You've already handled that with your MSA. Okay. New client onboarding efficiency improvement strategy. Probably the number 1 most attended type of webcast that I do today is toss-up between client onboarding and pricing and positioning services. We all understand that if we don't have a very solid client onboarding strategy, then we'll never hit the margins that we forecasted for our services. That's the other half of the coin, right? We do everything we can possibly do to understand our true costs up front. We sell on value to make sure that we are realizing, at least on paper, a healthy margin, gross profit for our service. But then when we turn it over to the service delivery team, we've got to make sure that the onboarding process is as efficient and smooth as possible. And then the ongoing incident management and service delivery activities are efficient as well. And the more efficient that we become in these areas, I don't need to tell you, the higher the client satisfaction, the more open they are to work with us on other solutions. The longer the retention of the client relationship is, so we're building greater lifetime client value. And candidly, over time, we become more proficient and more profitable as we onboard more clients using the same process, and we deliver service based upon a documented and effective incident management, escalation, and alerting process, right? Number 7, NOC and service desk. I just spoke over that one. So the incident management and escalation strategy has to be solid, and we have to hold our service teams accountable to following the process. If they're not entering all of their time in our PSA solution, then we have no way to understand exactly how profitable we are at the end of the day. So that's job number 1. And it seems like our partners are really getting better at that, and their technical teams are getting better at documenting all that. So that's being understood. But the bottom line here is, we have to have a service dispatch model that prevents us from having technicians cherry pick the tickets that they feel like they want to work on that day, right? So this has to be a very structured process where there's a service dispatcher that assigns tickets, and they're air traffic control. They're moving tickets from queue to queue to make sure that we are meeting our SLAs. And it's ultimately the service dispatcher's responsibility for every ticket in the entire queue, in every queue. Right? It's their responsibility. So we hold them accountable. Therefore, they're holding the technicians and engineers accountable to completing the tickets that they're assigning them within SLA. And if not, they're moving things around to make sure that we don't slip SLA. The next one is capacity planning for sales engineers, onboarding technicians and deployment technicians, project managers, project coordinators, service desk, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 service desk, and NOC personnel. So we've got a really effective calculator that we've built out that takes our forecasted sales growth. If we want to grow the organization by this much revenue, it basically deconstructs how many closed opportunities that's going to take, and then the average value of those opportunities, how many proposals that means, how many appointments that means, how many leads that means. And then when we are going through that process, how many sales professionals do we need to support that based upon a calculation of how many hours it takes to do all these activities, how many sales engineers we need to support that based upon an average percentage of time sales engineers apply toward helping close sales. And then once the opportunity is closed, how many onboarding technicians we need to onboard those folks, how many service desk technicians based upon the size of the organization and the tickets that we expect to receive, and these are all based on industry statistics, etc. So now we can provide you a forecast of how your organization needs to be built out, identifying who do you need to hire next and the justification for that in order to support that growth strategy. So it's super important. Compensation plans. I mean, everyone understands that in order for us to hire the best talent, we have to have effective compensation plans that can attract that talent, but take a lot of the risk off the table for the organization itself. So we're big fans of creating compensation plans with a base and a commission structure for sales professionals that encourages them to close more sales and rewards them for that, instead of, we've seen some comp plans that are basically a giant base with some commissions that the sales professionals are so comfortable with that base, it's really hard to encourage them to go out and really be the hunters that we need. And also on the technical side, what are we doing to influence and encourage our technicians and engineers that are boots on the ground at client locations to uncover and identify other sales opportunities? So there's a lot of work that we can do to really influence additional sales here. Project management, scope creep, and scope seek. And this is basically a philosophy around how do we manage change, how do we manage communication, and how do we manage risk. And having kickoff meetings with our clients at the beginning of each project and getting them to agree to the success criteria and how we're going to handle change and communication and risk. And when there is the need for change that was unforeseen by us, how we're going to execute that change request and what their role is in approving that change request and approving whatever changes we require in addition to budget, which may mean timing and things like that, or changing out a vendor, etc. And we have to execute that effectively and stop giving away free labor during these projects. One of my favorite ones is, we're out there deploying a project, and the users now, instead of opening a ticket on the service desk, they know that we're on site, so they start tapping our technicians on the shoulder and asking them to come look at something on their desktop and things like that. So we have to be very intentional about project management. And then I already spoke about the lifetime value of each client and how we can grow that by the effective implementation of QBRs. So those are the growth drivers. Let's move now to some of the KPIs that we need to be tracking in order to measure performance, right? It's one thing to have the strategy, which we just talked about, in the areas that we need to focus on with those 11 drivers. Now we have to have a way to measure our performance in order to adjust when we need to achieve the outcomes that we expect. So, in an operations KPI, and again, if you stay till the end of today's webcast, I will send you our KPI dashboard that covers all of these items here. So from an operations perspective, it's what you would expect, right? So AR, AP, how are we doing on collections, days outstanding on invoices and things like that. We're paying our bills when they're due. All of the HR processes, including keeping employee files up to date, having employee reviews on time, etc. Training for sales and for technical resources, as well as administrative staff and leadership training for everyone, starting with the leadership and management team. Our vendor relationships, how are we doing with those? Are we green? Are we yellow? Are we red in some of those areas? And probably most importantly, from a client-facing perspective, how are we doing from a client sat perspective, and how are we measuring client satisfaction? Financials, cash flow runway, GP, gross revenue, month-over-month performance, quarter-over-quarter performance, year-over-year performance. From a marketing perspective, we're really measuring, the MDF opportunity, which is missed quite a bit from the partners that we engage with. So we teach our partners how to grow their MDF opportunities with their vendors, and what the secret sauce is to gain more and more MDF with vendors and things like that. To the point where we've got a couple of partners that are receiving MDF in an amazing amounts. One client of ours is getting $1 million a year in MDF. Now, of course, that means they're spending a lot of money with these vendors and these distributors. But again, that required them to hire 2 people just to manage the MDF department, if you will. Makes sense, right? I mean, if we can get $1 million worth of MDF, we're going to hire the people that's required in order to go get that stuff. So all of our events, our live events, our lunch and learn events, our webinars, we're tracking all of that and how we're doing, making sure we're hitting all of our schedules for marketing and lead generation. We're analyzing the leads, and we're looking at what's providing us the best ROI. And we're talking about direct and indirect marketing, online, offline marketing strategies, social media, awareness strategies, pay-per-click, all of these things that today allow us to create a very robust marketing and lead generation strategy. How are we tracking all that? Of course, sales, you've got sales funnels that we're managing, sales activities, appointments being set, proposals being written, our won-loss ratio, and how are we doing against quota for our sales professionals. Sales engineering, are we getting our job blocks done when they're scheduled? How are we doing on keeping on top of our assessments, our quotes being turned around and proposals being turned around within our established timelines, and how are we doing from a GP perspective on our quotes and proposals? Project management, the big one. How are we doing on managing all of our projects? This is another air traffic control kind of a role here. We've got projects running, we've got maybe we have project managers, maybe we have program managers, a program manager managing the project managers, maybe they have project coordinators, so it can become a huge business unit in and of itself. So how are we managing and tracking the progress of each project? Are we on time? Are we within our internal budgets? And how are the vendors impacting what we're doing? Service desk, NOC, professional services, time and material services. Are we meeting our SLAs? How many tickets were opened yesterday, last week, last month? How many tickets were closed yesterday, last week, last month? How many tickets rolled over? What's our utilization? Are we fully utilized? But how realized are we? So utilization is how much our teams are working, but realization is how much we're actually billing for or applying toward an agreement. Billing and GP. Service dispatch, like I said, the service dispatcher owns every single ticket in the queues. So we've got to track, how we're doing against performance on SLAs and capacity management. Do we have enough staff? Do we need more staff? Et cetera. And the same with technicians and engineers. SLAs, How are they doing on tickets and rollovers? How are they performing against projects, their utilization, their realization, billing and GP, etc. All right. Now let's move quickly into quarterly business reviews, because this one here is, I think, just low-hanging fruit opportunities for you to go in and really make a difference in top-line revenue and GP. So what I'm talking about in this slide is the type of client that we're going after, right? As a rule, we typically have three types of clients. Technology strategic clients. These clients see their investments in technology as providing them a strategic advantage in their business, and these are the folks that are most likely to either have a budget for IT or are willing to establish a budget for IT. Technology dependent clients. This group may not be quite as strategic as the first group, but their business requires them to invest in technology because of their reliance on technology. Okay? Technology averse customers. These are, if you look at these kind of A, B, C, right? So technology averse customers, these are the customers that nobody wants. These are the ones that haggle us over the invoices, the ones that we're always negotiating on price. They see technology spend as a necessary evil, etc. So your client type determines potential. You're going to get much less revenue generation from a technology averse customer than you will from a technology strategic client or a technology dependent client. Makes sense. So if we do our job right, we are seeking out technology strategic clients when we're going out and hunting for new business. We will accept the technology dependent clients. At a certain point in your business, you will begin to be able to turn away technology averse customers. You know, this is a business maturity evolution process. At some point, we'll take everybody because we've got to, you know, keep the lights on. But the day that we can start saying no is a tipping point in us becoming a more strategic organization. We've achieved a milestone here. So we're going to transform our dependent clients, technology dependent clients, into strategic clients through the proper execution of quarterly business reviews. How often do we execute them? When we bring on a new client, I want to make sure that our sales professional is visiting them every 30 days during that honeymoon period, right? The first, and we're probably, you know, the first 30 days, we're probably provisioning and onboarding them anyway. So they're checking in once they're going to come back the next month and the following month. And then by the second quarter, they can start spacing that out, maybe every 60 days. By the third quarter, we're going out quarterly. The process is simple. We're going to prepare the, I'm going to say, quote unquote, evidence that we're doing a great job for the client, but we're really not going to focus a lot of the meeting on that. Maybe the first meeting we talk about our performance, but really what we want to do is transition that into being a strategic meeting where, you know, we're just going to look at these high-level summaries to let you know, what a great job we did, but let's talk about pain and your next opportunity for helping that client eliminate that pain. So we're doing another business needs analysis. We're doing a question-based selling type of a conversation to really identify new pain and latent needs. So to the point where, you know, the intent of the QBR by the second and third quarter for sure is to have the client begin allocating budget for new technology investments. So if we've done our job really well as a consultative sales professional, we already know what the next 3 or 4 solutions or services are that that client needs. We're just prioritizing what we're delivering to them. And every time we meet them with for a QBR meeting, we're going to ask, what's changed since we spoke last? And if there's something new, and I've had it happen to me, oh yeah, we're thinking of opening up another office, or we're tired of this, line of business application. We've had it, now we want something different. So then you reprioritize the things that you talk about. You still qualify them for everything, but then you have the budget discussion with them, right? So when can we budget for this solution? And of course, you may ballpark it a little bit, but you want to deliver a proposal very quickly and give them an idea and let them tell you when they can budget for that solution. And now you've got a full sales funnel every quarter going in. Wouldn't it be great if you had 30 A&D clients or more that you're going out after every quarter, and every quarter you're coming back with a new opportunity. So quick do's and don'ts, be very strategic. The top ones here, the do's, they're non-negotiable. Create a recurring schedule, get the client to agree to that when you first sign them up. Part of the value that we bring is the strategic value. That's why our clients engage with us, because of the strategic value we bring to your organization and helping you overcome pain and challenges, increase security, increase efficiency and productivity, and bring more dollars to the bottom line. Create a recurring schedule, have them accept that, be on time, don't be late, don't reschedule on the client. If they have to reschedule, okay, you can't help that, but it's hard enough to get in front of them. Deliver the agenda. This is the agenda I'm going to send you if you stay till the end of today's webcast that talks in, it breaks down the meeting into specific sections, including the budget section. You'll transform dependents into strategic clients, and always be strategic. Don't put out a fire while you're there having a strategic meeting. Don't come out of the server closet, dust yourself off, and go into the strategic meeting. It sends the wrong perception to the client. You need to be strategic that day. Okay, and of course the don'ts are obvious here. Who performs QBRs? Trained consultative sales professionals. Those words are that's what we need. We don't need to send a new sales professional, someone that's not trained, and we certainly need a consultative sales professional. That's why the second bullet here is business owners, because business owners are strategic. We can have a strategic conversation if we're a business owner very easily, and the client will respect that as a business owner. That's why we need to train our sales professionals to be very consultative and strategic to conduct these QBRs. All right. I'm going to switch gears now and talk about your business growth challenges, kind of, tie some of these loose ends together and bring it home for you. So these are some of the challenges that, beyond the 11 drivers, these are some of the challenges that our partners, reflect to us or verbalize to us and ask us to help them with from a strategic perspective. So I'm going to run down maybe 5 or 6 of these. The top one really is the lifeblood of the business, your line of business application, your PSA and your RMM, your integration of those platforms, and their ability to support your automation, which lowers labor costs, right? So the properly configured PSA and RMM solution, when integrated effectively and configured properly, leverages automation so that you're not doing a lot of things manually. As much as possible, automate so it can bring down your overall labor costs. So if you've had a PSA that you've been using for a while now and you're still just using it as a very basic ticketing system, holy cow, you have a tremendous opportunity to increase efficiency and profitability by taking the time that's necessary to invest in optimizing those platforms. Marketing collateral. We see mismatched marketing collateral, collateral that's out of date, collateral that doesn't align with email marketing or social marketing. It doesn't match the website or the platforms or the squeeze pages that clients are driving, that partners are driving their clients to. And, a good sales professional doesn't need any marketing collateral. Okay, that's a bold statement, and I've just said it. A good consultative sales professional does not need marketing collateral because they understand how to build that connection with a client and things like that. But you're gonna have consultative sales professionals that are highly skilled, and then you're gonna have folks that you bring in and are training to get to that point. So it's a good idea to have that collateral, especially if you're doing events and things like that, when you're doing lunch and learns or you're sponsoring some conferences or conventions and you've got a table or booth out there. Your collateral has to be cohesive with your message. It has to be up to date, and it has to align with your email marketing that you're going to follow up to these prospects with, and especially your website. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about PSA versus SPA. So I'm going to recommend a book to you, Secrets of Question-Based Selling by Thomas Fries. And he talks about the old way of selling, which is solution, pain, alternative. So, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I've got a great new solution, and here's all the fancy whiz-bang things it does. And, oh, by the way, here's the pain it solves for you. and here's how we can engage. So it's all about the solution first. And secrets of question-based selling, which is a methodology that we employ and we use when we train our partners in improving their sales outcomes, takes that and flips it on its ear and says, no, you need to do pain solution alternatives, not solutions. So flip it. And first you're going to identify all of the pain that the client's experiencing. It's all about them. This meeting is about you understanding not only their immediate pain, but also their latent needs. And there are specific questions that you're trained, that you learn how to ask and when to ask them. And this book is going to teach you all that. It'll change your sales organization, I promise you. So the website also has to be focused that way, right? So I remember the days when marketing collateral and websites had pictures of servers on them and things like that, and click here to buy this server. And, you know, clients today don't understand any of that. They don't care what powers the solution or what eliminates their pain. They just want it fixed. So we've got to make sure that we're speaking to them and that our website is cohesive with all of our other marketing, messaging, and collateral as well. So the big one is, on the service side, is documentation of procedures. Everyone kind of doing things their own way in a Wild Wild West kind of a scenario. And bless their hearts, you know, people do what they think is best in the lack of direction and training and process. So this is a big one that our partners ask us to help them with, is, you know, putting together processes and procedures for every aspect of service delivery. And of course, today we host the largest archive and library of IT business improvement processes, tools, collateral, video training, etc. So it's really easy for us to help them with that. And then marketing strategy and marketing process and marketing activities. I touched a little bit on that earlier, where, you know, you've got all of these different ways to market, but what is the cohesive strategy behind when we send each one of these touches? And now what we're really helping our partners with is marketing automation and marketing automation sequences, where, you know, it's an if this then that kind of an approach, where you can take email marketing, let's say, and if a client clicks on a link, then we send them through another workflow sequence, and then another workflow sequence, or they haven't done anything, the messaging changes. So it's very dynamic, and a lot of social media analytics is involved. We're involving social media, pay-per-click, and things like that. So it can be very advanced, but it can be very effective as well. As we all know, email marketing is the most cost-effective means of lead generation. Sales, everyone has some sales challenges: long sales cycles, sales opportunities that never seem to close, lack of documented processes, lack of training for the sales professionals. If there are quotas, they're not being enforced. We've got mismatched comp plans where it's not realistic. And so that's an area where you really have to understand, again, going back to that true cost of service delivery, how many leads are available in the area for a sales professional to execute, how much time they have to spend on sales, how much of that time goes away once they are actually meeting with clients instead of lead generating and prospecting, things like that. And some of these things we touched earlier, right? Cost of service delivery, client sat, vendor and fulfillment partner relationships. And the big one is people. You know, we always like to say, boy, if we didn't have to manage people, you know, and just run some kind of an online business, things would be much easier. Well, guess what? That's not going to happen in our industry. It's all about the people. It's all about our people. It's all about the people that, the clients that we bring on, et cetera. Now for us, you know, some of the top challenges here are really communication, execution, accountability, and some of the drivers of that are a lack of a clear understanding of job roles for our staff. You know, oh, I didn't know that was my responsibility. I thought that was, you know, Sally's responsibility or Jim's responsibility, or things like that. And training. And probably, you know, the lack of consistent performance reviews. You know, even if, and we've got partners that say, well, we do them yearly, but we never do them. You know, it's better to do them more often than waiting a year. You know, I like quarterly, and they go a lot quicker, and you're able to course correct and work with your staff much more quickly to get them to adjust their behavior in order to really knock it out of the park for you. All right, so I'd like to introduce today to you our one-day strategic business improvement meeting engagement. And what this is, it's an on-site where I come out and work with you and your entire team, and we whiteboard all of your business roadblocks and challenges, and we identify what the low-hanging fruit opportunities there are to quickly make some improvements, and then we establish a long-range plan to attack all of the areas in a strategic manner and in a way that fuels controlled, sustainable growth. So really what we do is we understand where you are. It's kind of a mini SWOT is part of this, and we do some of this before I come out and work with your team and really understand what your internal strengths and weaknesses are that can either help or hamper the achievement of this transition, and then what external opportunities there are for us to take advantage of, as well as the threats that we need to accommodate into our strategy. So once we understand where we are, we want to know where we want to be. And so we take some industry statistics, some best-in-class KPIs, and we apply them to our discussion and say, well, a best-in-class service organization in this area is able to achieve this. Here's where we are. So now let's put together a strategy to help us move in that direction. So again, we define that go-forward strategy and then identify not only the decisions that have to be made and the things that have to be done, but also what it's going to cost and the people that you're going to need to bring on board as the growth strategy becomes a reality for you. And, you know, the three, well, we used to call them the 3 Ps, people, process, and product. So for us, it's tools and technology, processes, and procedures, and people. So tools and technology, obviously your infrastructure, your platforms, et cetera. Your processes and procedures from everything from an operational, marketing, sales, or service delivery perspective. And then your people and how to shore up any gaps in performance there and really work with them to have them understand what their role is and what we expect from them and how you're going to measure that performance moving forward and reward them for excellent performance in order to adjust that behavior, encourage that behavior transition, and lead them effectively. So an on-site meeting is conducted in several phases here. First is provisioning, and I'll go into that in a second. And there's a kickoff call that we have after we provision you for the service. We onboard you. We have a strategic preparation call, and then we host the meeting. So provisioning means that we use online platforms for delivering this strategic engagement. So every task and to-do, there's resources, files, calculators, templates that we upload into our online project management system. And we do all of our messaging and collaboration within this online platform, and this keeps everything central and easy for us to manage. And it's really designed to collect all the needed information from you during our discovery phase and also allow us to post up the tools, collateral, and resources that you'll be using to execute your improvement strategy after we're done. So once we're provisioned, we get on a call and go over everything, make sure that I have a really good understanding of what your focus areas are, everything about your organization, your staff, what the intent is, and I'll have some strategic questions to prepare us for that on-site. And then we'll conduct the on-site meeting. And this is really, you know, I really enjoy getting in a room with our partners and just kind of whiteboarding all of the roadblocks and breaking them down very logically. And in many cases, you know, I'll just be completely transparent here. There's nothing I'm going to share with you, probably 95%, that you don't already know. But what this does is help visualize it in a more strategic and logical manner and take that elephant that we're trying to eat all at once and break it down into bite-sized chunks so that we know that we're starting at the tail and we're going to end up at the trunk. And this is how long it's going to take based upon the resources we have today. This is what it's going to cost us. And this is what the organization is going to look as we move through the elephant. Hope that was an effective visual for you. All right. So, you know, there's a very structured agenda that I go through that covers everything, like I said, from an operational approach top down, operations, finance, HR processes, hiring, training, sales processes, quotas, comp plans, performance, um, your target verticals, the service to solutions that you sell, bundling, pricing. We look at all of these things. And then your service delivery business units, what's the infrastructure look like? What are our platforms and tools and processes? Where do we need to shore up some of these processes? What's our incident management performance look like? Are we tracking everything correctly? Project management, again, how do we handle these new project meetings? Are we getting kickoff meetings done? Are we getting clients to agree and sign off on the expectation and accepting their role as a team member in the project execution? Are we handling change properly so that we are not losing money from a potentially profitable project when it was signed out the other end because we just didn't manage change properly and we gave it away? All the way through to marketing and all the things that it takes to generate leads, etc. So at the end of the day, and I've got the final bullet here is, these are some industry statistics that you should evaluate right away on how your sales organization is doing and how your technical organization is doing. From a sales perspective, you're going to want a minimum performance of 4.5 times yearly W-2 compensation for each of your sales professionals that they're selling in GP. That's a minimum standard. Now we've got partners that, out of the gate they've got superstars and they're doing, 2 or 3 times that, believe it or not. 10, 12 times their yearly comp all in GP. Wow, that is fantastic. But of course, we've also got folks that have sales professionals that haven't sold anything since they've been on board, 7, 8, 9 months, 2 years, etc. So we really have to, that's the bar, that's the minimum. And for billable techs, we want them to be billing at 3.5 times their total W-2 at the end of the year. That's the goal. And candidly, there are a lot of factors that influence both of those numbers, and some of them have nothing to do with the sales professional or the technician. Things that are drivers like quotas, training, platforms, management, and then on the tech side, optimization of PSA and holding them accountable to documenting all of their time. I want to share with you some of our customized dashboards, calculators, and other resources that we bring to bear. So we've got tons of these KPI dashboards and performance measurements dashboards that we use during this engagement. And here's a weekly sales meeting activity dashboard where we're going to identify each sales professional, what their goals are, how they're doing from a week-to-week basis from a green, amber, and red perspective. It's really effective, and it keeps sales meetings short and allows us to focus on the challenges that the sales professionals are having rather than trying to figure out what everything is. Client Solution Roadmap, probably one of our best known tools in the industry, where we take and have all of your clients listed down the first column of the spreadsheet, and across the top every single product, service, or solution that we sell or want to sell, and then how many of our clients have these solutions and how many of them don't, and develop sales and marketing strategies to go out after the entire client base, a solution at a time. And while we're out there, we're also qualifying for everything else, but the marketing and lead generation effort is to get appointments so that we're effective. And the 5th sales meeting or for that product or service is going to go much better than the 1st, and the 10th will be better than the 5th. Same thing on the service delivery side. The 5th implementation will be much more efficient than the 1st, and the 10th more efficient than the 5th. So we become better and better as we work through that process. And it allows us to forecast lifetime client revenue. And it's a really effective tool at inspiring the sales team to really go after these opportunities that live right within your existing client relationships. I talked about marketing automation and how we help partners build out effective sequences for marketing and lead generation activities. So just kind of a screenshot of one of those. And tons of checklists and other dashboards that we have for everything from hiring and onboarding to as I mentioned earlier, new client onboarding, 117-step process to do that. And, we have those in formats that can be imported into several of the top PSA solutions as well. Now, here's the big one, pricing and capacity planning calculators. We've spent a lot of time working with partners to customize these calculators, and we've standardized on probably 8 or 9 of them. So the pricing calculator, you see it's in the blue on the left. This really takes into account every single thing that you sell. And once we understand what our true costs of those services are, it does the calculation for us based upon the size of the client environment. And in some versions of this, it even will spit out 3 different options. So if we have our silver, call it the bronze, silver, gold plan, it'll automatically calculate all 3 of those for you so that when we deliver our consultative sales proposal, it gives the client 3 options. The first option is everything that they need. The next option is kind of the upsell, right? And ultimately the last option is the Mercedes-Benz. You're going in and you're looking at different car models. It's the highest model of the Mercedes. And some clients want that. And it gives us an opportunity to present 3 options, which when we do so, increases our potential of selling a second or third option by 85%, believe it or not. This comes from $1 Million Consulting. It's a book by Alan K. Weiss. If you haven't read that book, that's another book recommendation I'll make to you. It's $1 Million Consulting by Alan K. Weiss. Now, the other calculators that we have are capacity planning calculators. I kind of touched on this earlier where we say, from a sales perspective, a sales engineer, a project manager, a coordinator, service desk technician, all the way down, every role, based upon some key metrics that we input, how many hours do they have to give, and then we break that down into their specific role. So we understand how many people we need when we're forecasting additional sales growth. So by the end of that strategic meeting, you'll know what best-in-class organization performance is like and where the gap is between where you are and where that peak performance is. You'll understand that gap. You'll also understand the obstacles that need to be overcome to realize that peak performance. You'll receive a prioritized growth strategy that we all agree on. Right? This isn't something where I just open up a playbook and go, here's what we need to do next. This is something that is customized based upon your current condition and your capacity to transform based upon lots of factors, including timeline, including revenue, including resources and human resources, etc. You'll know your true cost of sales and service delivery and service margins. You'll know, as I mentioned earlier, who needs to be hired to achieve that growth. And you'll be able to analyze your sales and service team's performance more objectively against these industry KPIs that we talk about. And then you'll have the resources to guide the execution of that strategy. So why is this important to you now? Well, if you've experienced any of the challenges that I described earlier during today's webcast, then there is a strong opportunity for you to attack that and to resolve that with a one-day strategic meeting. And we can talk about ways that we can help you after that meeting is done. If you feel like, wow, I really need some more help on this. I know that I could do it myself, but can you help? Of course we can help. The first priority, though, is identifying where we are and where we want to be and identifying the strategic plan in order to close that gap. And that's what this is all about. So the investment, we normally charge $10,000 for an engagement like this, but for attendees on this webinar, we're offering over 50%. We're offering a 50% discount. It's $5,000. So that's the investment, and that's the decision point. How quickly do you want to make a change? Now, how strategic are you in understanding the value of taking the experience and expertise that we can bring to bear to help you make that transition and to know that you don't have to do it alone? So I love this slide. I'm a victim and guilty of this myself. Who hasn't just kind of continued doing the same thing because well, it's not a good time, it's not the right time, or I don't have the time. Well, you know what? That's the definition of insanity, and I think we can all appreciate that. So, my question to you is, if you don't take action now, when will things ever improve? So I've got a couple of amazing bonuses, as I said at the beginning. If you engage with us for the one-day strategic meeting, in addition to all of the value that you're going to get from a strategic perspective and helping improve your business outcomes, we'll also provide you with our new Web 4.0 lead generating website. I designed this website myself from a look and feel perspective. It is a one-pager. It is local SEO optimized. It's responsive for any screen size, so it looks beautiful on a smartphone, tablet, desktop, laptop. You got it. It can integrate with your PSA and RMM solution. There are 40 blog posts already written to your target audience, to your customer base, and all you've got to do is schedule them. It's over 100 pages, and I'm really proud to say that on Google PageSpeed Insights, it ranks 80 out of 100 just from our base template without customizing it for you. And the best news is we turn those around in 10 business days or less. Our second bonus is a 12-month subscription to our IT Business Builder Training and Resource Center. And I mentioned earlier that we host the largest archive of IT business improvement training resources, forms, tools, collateral, calculators, videos, quizzes, etc. for every single member of an IT organization. So that's a 12-month subscription for you and your entire organization. It's really fantastic. So just a quick recap: the one-day strategic business improvement meeting, the amazing WordPress website 4.0 lead generating website, and a 12-month subscription to our IT Business Builder Training and Resource Center. It's nearly $12,000 when you calculate it all up individually. It's only $5,000. So the next step is to schedule a call with me. And so there's a link here, s.spc-intl.com/call-e-simpson, and that's my calendar. You can book a call with me, and let's talk about how we can help you improve your business outcomes. Or if you just want a general strategy call, there's no strings attached, go ahead and schedule a call with me. That's my thank you for watching this webinar, and hope that you've gotten value from this. You can also email me at vp@spci-online, or give Tanisha a call, and she'll be happy to help schedule a call between you and I. So at this point, I'd like to again thank you and appreciate you for your time you spent with me today, and I look forward to speaking with you all soon. Take care.